Hello students, welcome to Shri Classes. Lecture number 3. In this today we are going to discuss in-text questions, exercise questions and exemplar questions also pertaining to the hereditary part. So let us go ahead now. The first question, if a trait A exists in 10% of population of asexually reproducing species and a trait B exists in 60% of the same population, which trait is likely to have arisen earlier? See, in asexual reproducing species, the number of variations are less as it is. So, if the 60% of the population is having a one particular trait, that is trait B, then definitely this must have arisen earlier, because most of the population, maximum population is having trait B, which is accumulated over the years, because only less variations exist or less variations can be transferred to the offsprings in case of asexual reproduction. So more variations if exist, then that should have arisen earlier. So in a population of asexually reproducing species, the chances of appearance of new traits due to variations is very low, and the trait which is already present in the population is likely to be in a higher percentage, and that is going to propagate also and would have arisen earlier. Therefore, trait B present in 60% of the population is the trait which have arisen earlier. Next question. How does the creation of variations in a species promote survival? That means, how does this creation of variations in a species promote the survival? See, one example it is given there. First I will read these answers and then explain it. During reproduction, DNA copying takes place, which is not 100% accurate, and therefore the variations arise, that we know. If these variations are favorable, they help the individuals to survive and pass these variations to their progeny. Suppose if these variations are not favorable, then the organisms will die and they are on the verge of extinction. So depending upon the nature of variations, different individuals have different advantages which promotes their survival. Like bacteria which can withstand heat will survive better in the heat wave or in the deserts. Meaning, how does the creation of variations in species promote survival? The variations are necessary. The variations will be able to help the individuals to sustain harsh environmental conditions. Example is bacteria. So this is how we can write the answer. So see, this question should be answered along with one example, that is the bacteria example is the best thing. Even though there exist variations in bacteria, those are minor variations, let it be, no problem. But because no biochemical reaction is 100% accurate, and definitely there exist some variations, because of which the bacteria will have its offsprings slightly different from the parent, and that variation probably is if it is in the favorable, or if the variations are favorable to make the organism to sustain environmental conditions, harsh environmental conditions, then that will survive and it will propagate that trait to further offsprings. So variations will help the species to promote the survival. This is how you can write the answer. Most of these question answers are theoretical in nature. Conceptual understanding is required. So read the same answers again and again so that you would be able to reproduce properly during the exams. Next question. How do Mendel's experiments show that traits may be dominant or recessive? Mendel's monohybrid experiment is the one that demonstrates whether the traits are dominant or recessive. So you have to explain the monohybrid experiment. What is monohybrid experiment? Mendel conducted an experiment in which one pair of traits of contrast nature. One pair of characters of contrast nature were compared and the experiment was studied. So you have to explain Mendel's monohybrid experiment. Tallness and shortness are the traits for the pea plants. That example if you explain, and finally you can write a conclusion in that experiment that in the F1 progeny all the plants were tall because the trait tallness was dominant, whereas trait shortness was recessive there. Whereas in F2 progeny, when we self-pollinate the F1 progeny plants, so in F2 progeny the shortness got expressed in a ratio of 3:1, that is the short plants produced were only quarter of the plants, that is 25%. So the entire Mendel's monohybrid experiment needs to be explained in order to answer the question that Mendel's experiment show the traits may be dominant or recessive. I hope you understand how to write that. How do Mendel's experiments show that traits are inherited independently? So you have to explain the dihybrid experiment, and finally the ratio is to be mentioned in your answer. 9:3:3:1, that should be mentioned. So let me see, I have written like this here. Let us read this. Mendel selected pea plants of two pairs of contrasting characters, namely tall plant with round seeds and short plants with wrinkled seeds. In F1 progeny, he observed that all the plants were tall with round seeds. Thus, tallness and round seeds were dominant traits in F1 progeny. Then he allowed self-pollination of F1 plants to get F2 progeny. Progeny means generation. He observed that plants produced in F2 generation were the combinations of short, tall, round and wrinkled, all these traits and the combinations in the with the phenotypic ratio of 9:3:3:1. Thus he concluded that the traits tallness, roundness, shortness and wrinkledness were inherited independently in F2 progeny. If possible, try to demonstrate the entire experiment by using a Punnett square. In my PPTs, I have discussed in detail that Punnett square needs to be explained very clearly, and you have to decide the answer based on the question, the number of marks allotted for this question. If it is 3 marks and above, probably you may have to implant the Punnett square and explain. According to the Punnett square, the explanation should be there. Otherwise, if it is for 2 marks, you can write simple explanation like this. Next, a man with blood group A marries a woman with blood group O, and their daughter has a blood group O. Is this information enough to tell you which of the traits, blood group A or O, is dominant? Why or why not? See, one important thing is, here we do not know for a trait group, blood group A, there are 2 alleles. The alleles have not been given over here. Whether those are homozygous or heterozygous alleles, we do not know. Similarly, we can consider the mother woman's blood group to be both O and O. We can consider that homozygous OO we can consider. But definitely for a man, if the blood group is A, then whether it is dominant or recessive, we do not know based on the question over here, because it will have a pair of genes, or 2 alleles must represent one particular trait, that is blood group A here, and hence the information is not enough should be the correct answer, I think. So please check these answers, especially this question is more important. You check this answer with your teachers also, because if you look at the solutions, different books, reference books give you different solutions, but definitely the information is insufficient is the answer for this question. but the explanation can be different way, and therefore try to get the answer from your teachers also. That would be quite helpful for you to understand. So how I have written here is, a man having blood group A must have two genotypes. Two genotypes means two alleles basically. Genotype is whether it is the two alleles, whether it is expressive or recessive. Two genes should be there to represent a blood group A, but here we do not know that. And these can be capital A or O and A. Daughter has blood group O, AA or OA. So this information is not sufficient to tell which of the traits, blood group A or O, which is dominant. We do not know that, and therefore information is insufficient. Next, how is sex of a child determined in human beings? See, first of all, the sex determination in human beings, the answer should be accompanied by a very good pictorial representation, schematic sketch. In that, what we have to do is, please refer to your textbook diagram, and instead of drawing the man and woman like this, you mention over here as parents, male, female. That is better. And below that you can write XY, XX. And then comes the gametes. Gametes of the male, either it will have X sperm or a sperm containing Y chromosome basically. A sperm containing X chromosome or a sperm containing Y chromosome. And of course egg will have only X chromosome. So a sperm containing X chromosome, if it fuses with egg, then offspring is a girl child. Here you need not write draw the diagram of a male and female. Simply you can write here offspring, baby girl and baby boy. That is the best way to represent. So while writing parents, gametes, zygote, offsprings, parents, male, female, XY, XX, gametes, XY and X, simply you can write, you need, if possible, you draw the diagram of the sperms and egg here like this. It is the best way to represent. And zygote formation, you need not show this diagram. You can simply write XX and XY with one circle. And finally offspring, baby girl, baby boy. So important is, I'll read this paragraph, that is important. Human beings have 46 numbers of chromosomes. 22 paired chromosomes in both male and female, whereas one is a sex chromosome. In male, the sex chromosome pair is an imperfect pair. That is, one is a longer normal size chromosome and another is a shorter chromosome. The shorter chromosome is named as Y, and therefore man is represented by XY, whereas woman is represented by XX, because both the chromosomes, the sex chromosomes of the female, both the chromosomes are same. So if a sperm carrying X chromosome fuses with egg, offspring is baby girl. If a sperm carrying Y chromosome fuses with egg, then the child born will be a boy. So this complete explanation substantiated with the diagram is more important to answer the question for sex determination. I hope you understand. Now we'll go through exercise questions. A Mendelian experiment consisted of breeding tall pea plants bearing violet flowers with short pea plants bearing white flowers. Short pea plants bearing white flowers. The progeny all bore violet flowers, but almost 50%, half of them means 50% of them were short. This suggests that the genetic makeup of the tall parent can be depicted as capital T. Out of these options, C is correct, T, T, W, W. See here, answer is written as T, T, W, W. Let me try to explain this on the board, okay. Crossing of tall violet with short white pea plants was carried out. Forget about this combination. Let us talk about here The progeny, this is the progeny, these are parents, and this is progeny, that is generation. In this one, short violet, first of all he gives the expression that all are violet colored plants. In that, short violet were about half, 50%. That means tall violet also should be 50%. Now all these are violet, and therefore violet must be a dominant trait. If I represent the violet and white as taking W as a letter, the dominant capital W, therefore here violet is represented by capital W. What about the shortness? Only small t. If both t are there, then definitely plant will be short, and therefore small t, capital W. But the hidden information is tall violet are also 50%. That means capital T, 1t is enough to make the plant tall. So capital T, W. These are capital W's. So this is the offspring's combination. Now these two are in 50% of the plants and 50% of the plants. That means these two must be the parents' genetic composition, because 50% equal genetic composition is contributed by both the plants. And therefore, if I take this one as TTWW, then this is the tall and violet. It is a tall plant and it is a violet plant, because capital W refers for violet, small w refers for white. And for this it is short white, TTWW. But thing is, here it is a short and white means violet is dominant, but for this it should be small w and small w. Okay, see, based on this combination I can conclude that one of the parent combination should be capital T, small t, and capital W, capital W. For another parent, probably this could be the result. So this option is available, hence this option is the right option, is what we have chosen there, because in that this small t, small w, nowhere it is appearing. If that is also there, then both the parents could be this combination and this combination. I hope you understand how to arrive from this F1 progeny result, how to arrive at the parent combination. So study yourself and listen to the explanation couple of times, you will be able to understand this. Okay, fine. Question number 4. A study found that children with light colored eyes are likely to have parents with light colored eyes. On this basis, can we say anything about whether the light eye color trait is dominant or recessive? Why or why not? When the children have light colored eyes, then definitely it must be a dominant trait. If it is to be dominant trait, in that case both the parents must have light colored eyes. So the answer is dominant, as both parents have light colored eyes. Next question. Outline a project which aims to find the dominant coat color in dogs. So here we have to consider a male dog and a female dog. Let the color of the male dog be capital B, which represents black, and white color of the dog be a B. Let the female be a white color dog having small b as a genetic composition. When these two interbreed, this is a combination. So in the combination, capital B is a dominant one, which is a black color. So in F1 generation, all the dogs are black and the black color is dominant, whereas white color is recessive. Suppose this capital B represents the white. In that case, all F1 generation dogs will be of white color. In that case, the white color is the dominant trait. I hope you understand this. Question number 10. Explain how sexual reproduction gives rise to more viable variations than asexual reproduction. How does this affect the evolution of those organisms that reproduce sexually? See, in simple terms, asexual reproduction involves single parent, variations are less, and sexual reproduction involves two parents, variations are more. More the variations would enable the offspring to sustain the harsh environmental conditions and transfer to the further generations, and that leads to the evolution and thereby formation of the new species. That is in a nutshell the answer. So let me read this. In asexual reproduction, only one parent is involved, and hence variations are less and offsprings are identical in nature. In sexual reproduction, two parents are involved and accumulated variations exist. Hence, in the offsprings produced, variations of both parents are transferred and dominant traits get expressed. Thus, more variations are introduced in the offsprings of sexually reproducing organism. So, more the variations, more chances of survival in harsh environmental conditions, and thereby leads to the evolution and formation of new species. That is the answer. Question number 11. How is equal genetic contribution of male and female parents ensured in the progeny? Male or female parents have 46 chromosomes. Let us consider in human beings I am talking about. Male or female parents have 46 chromosomes in human beings. Male or female gametes, gametes means sex cells, that is the sperm and ovum. So in the gametes, male or female gametes will have half the number of chromosomes. That is, in parents you have 46, but in gametes we have 23 chromosomes, which are also called haploid. So when a male gamete meets with female gametes, 23 plus 23 chromosomes, 46 chromosomes are restored back in the zygote, that is in the new offsprings, and thus both the parents will contribute equal genetic composition or equal genetic material to their offsprings. Now, exemplar questions. These are all NCERT questions which we saw. Now let us complete the exemplar questions. MCQs. Exchange of genetic material takes place in vegetative reproduction, asexual. Asexual reproduction, exchange will not take place. Transfer takes place, but exchange from one organism to another organism, that exchange will not take place. So only in sexual reproduction the exchange of genetic material takes place. In budding, no. Next, two pink colored flowers on crossing resulted in one red, two pink, one white in progeny. So the nature of the cross will be independent inheritance of traits, which is a self-pollination rather than double fertilization, cross fertilization, no fertilization. In self-pollination of the plants, we have seen that all the traits got inherited independently. So it's a self-pollination that leads to all these different colors. That is the answer. Question 3. A cross between tall plant and short plant resulted in progeny that were all tall plants, because tallness is the dominant trait, shortness is dominant, tallness is recessive, and height of the pea plants is not governed by the gene T or T. So tallness is the dominant trait. That is the answer. Which of the following statement is incorrect? Which of the following statement is incorrect? For every hormone there is a gene. Yes, it is true. It is correct. For every protein there is a gene. Yes, it is also true. For production of every enzyme there is a gene. Enzyme and protein are same, and therefore for every protein implies for every enzyme there is a gene. It is also a true statement. For every molecule of fat there is a gene. No, wrong statement. Next, if a round green seeded plant, capital RRYY, here capital R is a round and small y is a green, means small y is a recessive. Remember, round is dominant, green is recessive. It is crossed with wrinkled yellow, that is small rr, and capital YY. Capital Y here, yellow is dominant. The seeds produced in F1 generation R, all will be dominant, that is capital R and capital Y will be found, and therefore in F1 progeny capital round and yellow seeds will be produced. See, when these two are crossed in F1 progeny, only the dominant traits are expressed, that is capital R, capital Y. Capital R for round, capital Y for yellow. So round and yellow plants were produced in F1 progeny. In human males, all the chromosomes are paired perfectly except one. Those are sex chromosomes. And these unpaired chromosomes are large, small, Y and X. So X and Y chromosome, fourth and third and fourth. Is there third and fourth? Third and fourth. Answer C is correct one. The maleness of a child is determined by X chromosome in the zygote, Y chromosome in the zygote, cytoplasm of a germ cell, or sex is determined by chance. No. Y chromosome, that is the male gamete can have either X and Y. Y decides the maleness of the offspring. So answer B is the correct one. This one, answer B is the correct one. Next, eighth one. A zygote which has an X chromosome inherited from father will develop into a girl child, isn't it? So boy, girl, X chromosome does not determine the sex, so definitely girl child. A sperm with X when fuses with egg which always contains X, XX leads to a baby girl. So girl, that's the answer. Two pea plants, one with round seeds, this is a genetic composition, and another twinkled yellow, this is a genetic composition. Seeds produced in FN progeny have round yellow, capital R, capital Y. So round yellow, okay, seeds. When F1 plants are self-pollinated, in F2 progeny will have the new combination of characters. Choose that. See how I choose here is capital R, see here, round green is crossed with wrinkled yellow. So in F2 progeny, the new combination will be round yellow, wrinkled green, round yellow, wrinkled green. Are these options available? Round yellow, wrinkled green. 1 and 4. Yes. You have to study this a bit in order to understand this. See, round green was there and wrinkled yellow was there. These two were crossed. So the new combination would be round with yellow and wrinkled with green. That is what? Round yellow, wrinkled green. 1 and 4. These are the new combination of the plants. Apart from the individual combination, these are the new combination. That is the exchange of characters takes place here. Traits takes place. Which of the following statement is not true with respect to variation? Not true. All variations in species have equal chances of survival. Not necessarily. You understood? It is with respect to variation. Not true. It is not true. This itself is not true. Change in genetic composition results in variation? Yes. True statement. Selection of variants by environmental factors forms the basis for evolutionary process? Yes. That is called natural selection. Selection by the nature to introduce variations that leads to the evolutionary process. Statement is correct. D. Variation is minimum in asexual reproduction. True statement. So only the first one. All variations in species have equal chances of survival. Not necessarily. For example, if I take beetles, red beetles and green beetles in a population, if it is there, and red and green beetles will produce, suppose yellow beetles may survive. Suppose red and green will go on producing only green beetles, then chances of survival for green beetles is more compared to red beetles. Red beetles are seen by the crows which are eaten. Green beetles are hidden by the bushes. So what I mean by that is, if you read the evolutionary first experiment, the first paragraph of the evolution, it is easy for you to understand and explain this part, basically this question. All variations in the species have equal chances of survival. Not necessary. A trait in an organism is influenced by paternal DNA, maternal DNA, both maternal and paternal. That is a true statement. A trait, any trait should have the equal genetic contribution by both the parents. So both maternal and paternal DNA is important to determine a particular trait in an organism. So answer C is the correct one. Select the group which shares maximum number of common characters. 2 individuals of a species, 2 species of a genus, 2 genera of a family, two genera of a two family. Remember, interbreeding is only possible amongst the species, and hence maximum number of common characters would be there. Maximum number of common characters means similar characters must be there in individual species only. It is not possible between two different species the similarity. It is only within the species the similarities are possible, because the interbreeding is possible amongst the species, not from one species to another species, and hence a dog mating a dog will result only into a dog, not into a cat. So two individuals of the same species is the one that shows maximum similar characters or common characters. Two versions of trait which are brought in by the male and female gametes are situated on copies of the same chromosome, different chromosomes, sex chromosome, any chromosome, copies of the same chromosome. That is the answer for this. Select the statements that describe characteristics of genes. Genes are specific sequences of bases in a DNA molecule. Yes, a gene does not code for proteins. A gene does not code for proteins. No. In individual, we have to select the correct statement here. In individuals of a given species, a specific gene is located on a particular chromosome. Each chromosome has only one gene. See, each chromosome has only one gene is wrong. In an individuals of a given species, a specific gene is located on a particular chromosome. True. So 1 and 3 are true here. Option B, 1 and 3 are true here. That is the answer for this. Yeah, next one. In peas, a pure tall is crossed with a short. The ratio of pure tall to short plants in F2 is, see here, this is F1. This is the combination. All these are tall. In F2, these are the genetic compositions. Question here is the ratio of pure tall to short plant. Pure tall is capital T, T. Short in the F2 generation is only if small t are there. So what is the ratio of this capital T, T is to T, T? 1 is to 1. Therefore, answer is 1 is to 1. If you look at this combination, genetic combination, you should be able to answer this question. So while answering such questions, my recommendation could be to draw the Punnett square and look up the ratio of a particular genetic combination. Next, the number of pair of sex chromosomes in zygote of a human being is 1 pair. Isn't it? The number of pairs of sex chromosomes in zygote of a human. Why there is 1 pair? One chromosome from parent, mother, and another chromosome from one is from father and mother, and therefore 1 pair will be there in zygote. Short answer questions. How is the sex of a newborn determined in humans? We have already discussed. I am going to read only. The sex of the individual is genetically determined. Genes inherited from parents decide whether the newborn will be a boy or a girl. A newborn who inherits X chromosome from father will be a girl, and one who inherits Y chromosome from father will be a boy. Next question. Do genetic combination of mothers play a significant role in determining the sex of a newborn? No is the answer for that, because genetic composition of the mother's genetic combination of or the genetic combination for the mothers is only X and X, whereas Y decides the sex of a newborn. Hence, mother's genetic combination does not determine the sex of a newborn. Why do all the gametes formed in human females have an X chromosome? Because the sex chromosomes of the mother contains only X chromosomes. So only X chromosomes can be transferred to the gametes, and hence all the gametes formed in human females will have only X chromosomes. In human beings, the statistical probability of getting either a male or female child is 50:50. Give a suitable explanation. The sex of an infant is determined by the type of sex chromosome contributed by the male gamete. Since the ratio of male gametes containing X chromosomes to those containing Y chromosomes is 50:50, that is half the number. See, the total sperms produced or released, half of that will have X chromosome, half of that will have Y chromosome, and hence the ratio is 50:50. Therefore, statistical probability of male or a female infant is also 50:50. Give the pair of contrasting traits of the following characters in pea plant and mention which is dominant and recessive. In pea plant and mention if it is yellow seed. Okay, for first one yellow, second is round. For yellow, the contrasting is green. For round, the contrasting is wrinkled. You got it? And if yellow is dominant, green is recessive. If round is dominant, wrinkled is recessive. It can be the other combination also, not necessary that the dominant and recessive I am taking only always yellow and green, not required. If green is dominant, yellow is recessive. If wrinkled is dominant, round is recessive. That is also possible combination. Why did Mendel chose pea plants for his experiment? Why Mendel chose only pea plants? We have discussed this one. Grow very short lifespan of about 3 months. Easily distinguishable characters means there are more number of contrasting visible characteristics are observed in pea plants, and larger size of flower, and self-pollination is possible. Most of the pea plants are produced only by self-pollination rather than cross-pollination, but one can definitely do a cross-pollination also. And hence he selected pea plants. A woman has only daughters. Analyze the situation genetically and provide a suitable explanation. If woman has only daughters, then the woman produces definitely X chromosomes only. The man produces both with X and Y chromosomes, sperms with both X and Y chromosomes. A woman is having only daughters, meaning sperm with X chromosome fused with egg, and therefore a woman is having only daughters. That is the expression. Okay, long answer type. In the following crosses, long answer type questions we will see. Just a moment, we will take 1 minute pause. So, long answer questions. In the following crosses, write the characteristics of the progeny. First one, round yellow, round yellow. So definitely round yellow is what we can expect. Second one, round yellow, round yellow. But observe the genetic composition here. Small r, small y is there, small r, small y is there. In this case, in the progeny, you can expect the combination of capital R, small y, small r, capital Y. That combination you can expect. Meaning, round yellow are there, but as small letters are also there, round against that wrinkled can come, yellow against that green can come. So the combination can be round yellow, here round yellow, or round green, that is small y, wrinkled small r is a wrinkled yellow, wrinkled green. All four combinations are possible. Round yellow, round green, wrinkled yellow, wrinkled green. All these four combinations are possible. Remember, small r refers to wrinkled, small y refers to green. So, small r, small y combination is also possible. Therefore, wrinkled yellow, wrinkled green is also possible. Please remember. So, all the four combinations are possible here if you look at that. Round yellow, round green, wrinkled yellow, wrinkled green. Also remember, already these plants are hybrid plants. So this is basically the self-pollination of hybrid plants I can consider. In that case, in Mendel's dihybrid experiment, you must have noticed self-pollination results into F2 generation, and in F2 progeny you can find all the combination, and crossing of this is nothing but I can conclude similar to the F2 progeny produced in self-pollination of hybrid plants, because these are definitely hybrid plants here, not truly bred hybrid plants. So all the 4 combinations result in second one. Third one, wrinkled green, wrinkled green. Any capital letters are there? No. So you get only wrinkled green. Next, capital R, capital Y, small y, round yellow, wrinkled green. So if I cross this one, the dominant will be there. So that will be what is given here, round and yellow. So if I cross this one, the round and yellow will be there. That is the answer for this. Next, because those are dominant. Study the following cross showing the self-pollination in F1. Fill in the blank answer. Capital R, capital Y, small y, round yellow, wrinkled green. So in F1 you will get R, capital R, capital Y is there, and round yellow. And what is this here? Here also the same thing, capital R, Y, capital Y, the same thing will be there here also, because in F2 all are round and yellow. In F1, not F2, in F1 all are round and yellow. See here, round yellow is crossed with wrinkled green. These are dominant. These are dominant. So in F1, even though there is a combination of all these alleles, capital R, capital Y will be there, and therefore dominant. So R, capital R, capital Y, small y. Here also capital R, capital Y, small y. Round yellow will be there in F1, because in F1 all are round and yellow. Is it clear? Okay. Next. In question 44, in the previous question, what are the combinations of characters in the F2 generation? What are their ratios? Round yellow, round green, wrinkled yellow, wrinkled green. 9:3:3:1 is the combination. Next. Give the basic features of the mechanism of inheritance. The mechanism of inheritance, to understand that, I'll read this one. Characters are controlled by genes. Yes, genes control the character. Second, each gene controls one particular character or one trait. There may be 2 or more forms of a gene called alleles. You got it? Either homozygous or heterozygous. If both the forms are same, then it is a homozygous. If both forms are different, it is heterozygous. One form may be dominant over the other. Yes, possible. Genes are present on chromosomes. Yes. An individual has 2 forms of the gene, whether similar or dissimilar, homozygous or heterozygous. The 2 forms separate at the time of gamete formation. The 2 forms are brought together in the zygote. So this is the mechanism. These are the main features of the mechanism of inheritance. You can expect a question. At least a few points from this should be written as an answer. Next, give reasons for the appearance of new combinations of characters in the F2 progeny. That means the tall, short, round, wrinkled seed traits are independently inherited in F2 progeny. This is the reason basically. That is, the independent inheritance of the traits is observed in F2 progeny is what you can answer as, you can write the answer for this question. So I request all of you to go through the question answers once again, and make sure that you write all these question answers properly. Okay. So this chapter is complete in all respects, and let us end the lecture over here. In my next lecture with a new topic, I'll begin with once again the science chapter. So thank you very much for watching. So let us end the lecture. Bye.